And President Trump has unveiled a $12 billion economic assistance package for farmers. Joining us to discuss is Brian Reisinger, a farmer himself and journalist, and the author of Land Rich, Cash Poor. Good to have you with us today. Welcome.
Good to be with you.
Now, as a farmer, your reaction to begin with to the announcement today?
Yeah, absolutely. A farm like the one I grew up on grows not only soybeans, but a wide variety of different crops. And we're always working to diversify. The reality is that so many traditional farms like ours and so many other farms that are locked further into crops like soybeans and other things that are traded globally are really held hostage by China. And in this case, that hostage season was all of harvest season. So that was a real challenge. And soybean farmers ended up locking in losses because the soybean price was lower because of the snub that China was carrying out against American farmers during these negotiations. And it was a real challenge. It's something that has an impact on farmers this year and going forward. And, in a world where we're losing so many farms so rapidly, what China did really was incredibly damaging to keeping family farms going in this country.
And not only those trade tensions, over the weekend, Trump signed an executive order creating a task forces to protect competition across the U.S. food supply chain. But yesterday, dumping from other countries was mentioned as an active threat to U.S. farmers. And I recall last time we spoke, you said China could force soybean prices down in the U.S. What are some of the other threats U.S. farmers are currently facing?
Absolutely. You're absolutely right about all of those threats. And I think that the aid package that was announced is a step forward in the right direction. The other threats relate to just making sure that we don't allow ourselves to be in this position with global trade in the future, whether it's China or other countries, not letting any one country hold such a massive amount of the share that they're buying of a particular crop so that they can't hold us hostage. And the steps to make sure that markets domestically are fair as well, that there's proper competition in all of our markets across the country are really important. More broadly than that, we face the threat of China buying up farmland, which is a growing threat as we have more and more farms disappear. The farm that my dad is still operating, my sister's working to take over, that we all work on together, is an example of a way to hold the line against that threat, because small family farms like ours are far less likely to sell to a foreign adversary like China than, say, a company that owns a whole bunch of farmland that has no responsibility other than to their shareholders. So those are threats. And from there, just the general squeeze of rising costs and prices that don't necessarily keep up with that just continue to make it harder and harder for family farms to make it each year, regardless of what's going on in the global economy.
And what's it going to take to help family farms remain? Hold on.
The real big shift that we need to the big shift that we need to make is the shift toward more entrepreneurial opportunity for our farms. And I think making sure that our markets domestically, internationally are fair is a big part of that. The other big part of it is making sure that American innovation can reach farms of all sizes. So much technology that's pioneered, whether it's private sector or wherever, is geared toward the biggest of the big farms, the big dollar equipment. What we need is more and more farm equipment and other technology that is what they call scale neutral, meaning it can work for small and medium-sized farms as well as large farms, so that all farms, whether their size or type, are able to innovate and adopt the latest practices and technologies, allowing our family farms to be able to be just as efficient as anybody else across the globe.
And so we've been talking also here about diversifying agricultural trade away from China. The administration is also looking at that and how to strengthen bonds with more friendly nations. What would that take, and what challenges are currently in the way of that?
Yeah, the biggest thing that it will take is gearing our trade strategy to be around individual products and individual countries. What I mean by that is think about NAFTA as the opposite of that. One of the reasons that NAFTA has been so criticized by people in both parties over the years is because it was a great big deal with great big countries across multiple countries. So you're negotiating not just on crops, multiple crops, but multiple agriculture sectors, and then manufacturing, rare earth minerals, all kinds of things can go into any one of these great big trade deals. So the farmer gets shoved to the back of the line pretty quick. So if we can find a way to have more targeted trade deals, narrower trade deals with individual countries or on individual products, that way you can make sure that whether it's, folks growing beef, whether it's, folks raising tomatoes, whatever it is, you're able to have a deal that can benefit family farmers and put family farmers first. That's the big thing that we need to do. And the barriers to that are just simply the pressure that people put on America to continue what we were doing throughout the 90s, which is allowing our farmers and our workers to get ripped off without having tougher trade deals. So we need to resist that pressure and try to make sure we're negotiating these deals in a way that puts family farms first going forward.
And looking at this issue of Chinese ownership of U.S. farmland, I know lawmakers on both sides have been working on it, especially from a national security standpoint. But from your perspective on the ground as a farmer, what do you see as the challenges and the need to do this, to protect those lands?
Yeah, the real big challenge for families like ours is transparency. No farmer that I know wants to hear, hey, I'm from the Chinese Communist Party, I'm here to buy your land. That's not going to happen. But the reality of the situation is that in so many cases, a lot of these companies tie back to the Chinese Communist Party, the Chinese government, without it being clear. There isn't transparency for people to know what's going on. So that's the biggest thing we can do, is that transparency. And then from there, the rest of our solutions to try to help family farms move forward, again, is going to be a good guard against that. Because if our family farms are guarded with transparency to know who's trying to buy their land, and they're able to continue forward in an economical way, that means they don't have to sell to bigger and bigger companies that might in turn flip it to China. This is the best bulwark we can have, is the American family farmer armed with transparent, accountable information to be able to hold on to their land.
All right. Well, great to have your insights and your time today. Thank you so much, Brian Reisinger. Good to speak with you.
Good to be with you.